Remember Mike's Waffen Facts? You know, that podcast that just kind of imploded after episode 605. Well, it keeps getting weirder, and this time we're diving into some, well, pretty dark territory.
What I find interesting is that, we're not just looking back at Mike disappearing, we're seeing it from a new angle, Ramonka's.
Yeah, Ramonka, the sound engineer, he's finally talking after all the teasing, and honestly, some really rough stuff on that show. He reached out to us, and honestly, he sounds, I don't know, scared.
Yeah, it's different. Right. He's usually so quiet. Ramonka was always trying to, keep Mike and Rickard from going too crazy, remember?
Totally. He seemed like he wanted to do his job and, not be noticed. But what he told us changes everything. Voicemails from Mike.
Yeah.
But get this, they were left after episode 605, after he was gone, pleading with Ramonka to come back to the studio.
But wait, there's no studio. Not after what happened in 605. So what was Mike talking about? And why was he so desperate to get Ramonka back?
Okay, let's break this down. We're going to actually listen to these voicemails, the language, the tone, all of it, and see if we can figure out what Mike was trying to say. Maybe, just maybe, this is how we finally understand what really happened.
It's like we're getting inside Mike's head after he vanished. And he was so into those conspiracy theories, remember? Like that solar Satan staffel thing he wouldn't shut up about.
Oh, right. For those who need a refresher, the solar Satan staffel was this crazy theory about, well, it wasn't always clear, but like solar energy and mind control and weather stuff and something about pigeons.
Genetically modified pigeons.
Right, genetically modified pigeons. And Mike thought they were after him, which, I mean, considering how he was acting, maybe not so crazy.
Maybe, yeah.
So we've got Mike, maybe running from, I don't know, enemies, real or not, leaving messages at a studio that isn't there. Okay, let's hear that first voicemail, see what we're dealing with.
Okay.
Here we go.
Good.
Okay. I don't speak German, but even I can hear that he sounds, I don't know, desperate.
Oh, absolutely. It's clear. The way he's slurring his words and he keeps repeating things like he's really worked up. And that Fliesentisch, that's their tiled table where they recorded. It's all a bit, well, creepy.
And that last part, Klatschbaden, I'm guessing that's not a nice thing to call someone.
It's not. It's basically like calling someone a gossipy old woman. Not very flattering.
Huh. Which is weird because remember how much they made fun of Ramonka? His band, his being quiet, everything. Why would Mike think that would make him want to come back?
I think maybe Mike was just so panicked that it didn't even register. Like he was grasping for anything familiar.
But if he's trying to, keep the podcast going, why Ramonka? Out of everyone, he always seemed the least into it.
Yeah, that's the real mystery here, isn't it? What makes Ramonka so important to Mike now? What does Ramonka know that we don't?
Okay, let's listen to the next voicemail. Maybe it'll tell us something about why he's so focused on Ramonka.
Back again. Man, those voicemails were unsettling, right? The desperation in Mike's voice, the way the words just fall apart, and that Klaffen at the end. So creepy.
It's like we're hearing him, I don't know, lose it a little. But what's even weirder, the timing. These voicemails were left after episode 605, after the studio was gone, after Mike vanished.
Right. It's almost as if he's trying to make the podcast happen again somewhere else, holding on to that routine, even though everything's falling apart. But the question is still there. Why is Ramonka so important to this whole thing?
I know. It doesn't make sense. Ramonka was always kind of on the outside, just trying to deal with Mike and Rickard going off the rails. Why would he need him back so badly, especially now?
Well, let's switch gears for a second. What about those Doza Crew tracks? Wanderer and Seeger, they showed up right after Mike disappeared, remember? And people think Mikkel, the musician, maybe Mike.
So on one hand, we have these voicemails, total desperation. And on the other, these songs about, escaping and winning. Feels like two different stories.
Yeah, you're right. But maybe they're two sides of the same coin. What if the desperation we hear in the voicemails is what's driving that, defiant feeling in the music?
Okay, I'm listening. Let's start with Wanderer. The Wanderer. The title itself, it makes you think of someone running away, right?
And the words back that up. There's this line, Die Schuhe schon durchgelaufen, doch der Geist bleibt frisch. Shoes worn through, but the spirit remains fresh. Like someone's on a tough journey, but still pushing on.
It's like that whole survivalist thing Mike was into, always saying society was going to crash and only the prepared would make it.
Exactly. Wanderer could be his way of saying, I'm out. I'm doing this survival thing I always talked about.
But there's that line, that Guten Morgen, mein kleiner Sonnenschein. Good morning, my little sunshine.
Try.
It's so, I don't know, soft. coming from Mike.
It is, right? A little bit of, I guess, vulnerability and all that tough talk. What do you think it means?
Honestly, it makes me wonder if maybe Mike wasn't alone. Like maybe Sonnenschein is someone he was with, someone who's trying to keep safe.
Could be. Or maybe it's more like hope, a reminder to himself that even when things are bad, there's still, light somewhere.
Okay, now Seeger, which means victor. This one's a lot darker, more aggressive.
Oh, yeah. It's full of, taunts, like someone's really enjoying someone else losing. There's this one, Zesi so, says, yeah, oust, Opfer. Look at them, so. They look so defeated, you victim. Pretty harsh.
And there's that line about lock him cough, hole in the head. It's hard not to think about that metal figure from episode 605.
I know, it's almost as if Mike's talking about that night, saying he won, he beat whatever that was.
But then he says these things that are so Mike, so weird and funny, like, elegant wie ein Elefant im Porzelladen, elegant like an elephant in a china shop. That random humor, that was so him.
Exactly. And it makes me think, maybe Seeger isn't about winning a fight, but more like winning in his own head, beating his fears, that kind of thing.
So Wanderer is the escape, and Seeger is saying, I'm free. But where does Romanka fit in?
That's what we need to figure out. What if these songs aren't just Mike expressing himself? What if they're also messages to Romanka? Clues about where he is, what he's doing.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this all connects. The voicemails, the music, and Romanka, like he's the only one who can understand what's going on.
It's a puzzle, that's for sure. And we're just starting to put the pieces together, but one thing's clear. We need to know why Mike's so focused on Romanka. That's the key to this whole thing.
So we've got the voicemails, we've got the music, but the answer might be with Romanka himself. What does he know? What did he have to do with Mike disappearing?
In the last part of our deep dive, we're going to look at Romanka. His past, how he knew Mike, and maybe, just maybe, the clues that explain why he's at the center of all this weirdness.
We've been trying to, follow Mike's trail, the voicemails, the music. It's all so strange. But it feels like Romanka might be the missing piece.
Yeah, he's been so quiet through this whole thing, right? Just the sound engineer trying to keep things from going off the rails. But those voicemails, they make it seem like he's more than that.
Right. Mike's totally desperate. Like he needs Romanka back at that Fleisentisch, their recording setup. Like Romanka knows something we don't.
It's like Romanka saw something happen or knows something. And Mike, he's paranoid, right? And he thinks Romanka's the only one who can, I don't even know, keep him safe, keep the podcast going, something even weirder.
So Romanka, who is this guy really? You never said much on the show.
Well, we know he was into heavy metal, played drums in a band. That's actually how he met Mike, through a friend. Mike needed a sound guy for his podcast, which was just starting out.
And Romanka, he seems like a nice guy, right? Probably just wanted to help out. No idea what he was getting into.
Yeah, from those early episodes, you can tell Romanka, Mike, and Rickard, they're not exactly, on the same wavelength. Mike and Rickard, they loved pushing buttons, stirring things up, all that beer, and those wild theories, it just fueled them.
And Romanka, he just wanted to hit record and go home. Remember that episode where Mike was going on about the Illuminati controlling beer? Romanka just goes, totally deadpan. Can we get back to the MG42? He was not buying any of it.
Nope, not at all. But something must have changed, right? In those later episodes, something made Romanka more important to Mike.
Those voicemails, yeah. Wir brauchen dich hier. We need you here. Over and over. It's like he's begging not just for help with the podcast, but for something, deeper.
Maybe, late at night, recording, surrounded by all that paranoia, Mike started confiding in Romanka. Told him things he was scared of. Things about the Solar Satan Staffel he wouldn't say on the podcast.
So Romanka becomes like the confidant, the guy who sees the real Mike, not just the conspiracy guy. But how does that make him, the key to all of this?
Episode 605. Things got really dark, really fast, remember? Mike's obsession with those experimental weapons, that whole thing about summoning the Solar Satan Staffel. It's like he triggered something bad.
That footage, so messed up. The metal figure coming out of all that chaos, like a nightmare. And Mike, right before they went off air, it's like he recognized it, like he knew what he'd done.
What if Romanka, seeing all that happen, was the only one who really understood what they were dealing with? Something, beyond Mike's usual theories, something really dangerous.
Okay, now it's making sense. Mike disappears, maybe to get away from whatever he started. And Romanka's left with this knowledge, this secret that could put him in danger too.
And that word Clafin that Mike keeps saying in the voicemails, maybe it's not a threat, but a warning, something only Romanka would get.
Like a code, hidden in all that rambling. Mike's trying to warn him, guide him, but he can only do it in this, I don't know, this broken way.
And the Doza Crew songs, Wanderer, Seeger, all that escape and defiance, maybe those are messages too, not just to the fans, but to Romanka.
So there's like 3 levels of communication. The voicemails, the coded warnings in Mike's ramblings, and then the music. And Romak is the only one who can put it all together.
Yeah, it's like a puzzle inside a puzzle. We've unlocked some of it, but we're missing the key to like the innermost part. And maybe that key is Romanka's silence, the things he hasn't said.
So where do we go from here? The voicemails, the lyrics, we've looked at it all. But the mystery's just gotten bigger, hasn't it? One thing's for sure, Romank is at the heart of this.
He's not just the sound guy anymore, is he? He's the one with the secrets pulled into this game we're only starting to understand.
Mike disappearing might have been the beginning, but it feels like the next chapter depends on Romanka. Will he tell us what he knows? And if he does, what will we find? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep those theories coming.